Hello everyone, and welcome to the new YouTube channel Prince Dakota's Adventures by author E.H. Allen. Hello everyone, I'm author E.H. Allen, and I'm a fairly new author, novice author. I've been reading my book Prince Dakota Angel and the Multiple Universe Guardians Induction, which it is available on Amazon.com. Now I'll be reading Chapter 4, Rainbows, Sapphires, and Blue Diamonds. And of course, I'm recording this in December, so I've got my Christmas tree and my sock and some other decorations. My little figurines over here. So if you see this in March and you're like, why is there Christmas trees? Because it was filmed in December. All right. Chapter 4, a while earlier in the Vamp Castle campground, or compound, excuse me. Chancellor Leonard Tenzing Francesco, 175 years old, sat quietly on one of the many balconies that adorned the European castle where he lived. The weather was mild, and he was enjoying this day. He was the current leader of the Oxians Thaconians, and there had been many others before him in the time he and his people came to Earth 7 millennia ago. He believed in peaceful solutions, and it was a rule the previous leaders upheld since they'd been on Earth. He would uphold that rule to his last dying breath. But there were those that still believed in violence, hence the other faction that had split off from the OU millennia ago. The other faction, Oxians Zeta Thaconians, formed, I'll say that one more time, Oxians Zeta Thaconians, formed about 1,000 years after their arrival on Earth. The OZ preferred hunting unsuspecting humans at night, and Chancellor Francesco wanted nothing to do with that horrible practice. He and his loyal followers only drank blood from animals and didn't hunt them. They bought the blood wholesale from a sympathetic vendor that knew their long story and kept their secret. They drank pig, cow, and chicken blood, and it suited their needs. But the OZ seemed to enjoy hunting humans, and he knew it eventually might catch up to them, and it had. The mugs would be coming for them soon. He hoped for a sit-down negotiation with their leader, Prince Dakota, and that he might be able to find them a new planetary home with a compatible star to allow the growth of the high acidic foods that would sustain them. New paragraph. OU citizens hidden all over the world agreed with the peaceful actions and also only drank animal blood. Some rural folk had to hunt deer, wild hogs, and other animals, while some bought most of their blood at a wholesaler or grocery store. And since animal blood was regularly used to make gravy and other foods, no one questioned its purchase. He so wished Earth's climate and star allowed for the growth of foods that existed on their native planet, which was in a galaxy a few million light years from the Milky Way. Their home had been destroyed thousands of years ago, when their native planet's parent star became a supergiant after it was struck by a large meteor high in a volatile radioactive element, Dakota, not known officially on Earth. The element reacted with the mechanisms of the black star, which was a type of blue dwarf 5 times the size of Sol. The Dakota caused it to prematurely grow into a giant billions of years early. Had that not happened, the OU would still be living peacefully on their native planet and not on Earth, avoiding detection from humans and drinking blood. The animal meat on their planet was also inedible. The animal meat on their planet was also inedible to them, unlike meat on Earth, which was undigestible to them. Only blood from Earth mammals would sustain them, and Chancellor Francesco wanted to be the leader to take his people to a new land and way of life. But first, he had to fully convince his opponent, Prime Lord Jean-Francois Valerian, who was the leader of the OZ. To keep tensions down and a potential war at bay between the two factions, Chancellor Francesco stayed out of the Prime Lord's way and let him and his people hunt humans as long as they were careful not to kill VIPs that might draw attention and the ire of humans to them. Humans might be weaker than the OU and OZ, but they also possessed mighty military weapons that could easily take them all out. So far, the general population had no idea they existed in real life and assumed vampires only existed in movies. But the governments of the industrialized nations and a few third world governments knew of them. The United States and other governments warned them they would not come after them unless they declared war on the human race, and then they'd show no mercy. They mostly kept to hunting homeless people, lone criminals, and animals, and stayed away from high government officials, who usually had bodyguards. The officials were usually tracked and would be quickly missed if killed, so Prime Lord Valerian made sure his people left them alone, especially when they visited the royal castle. Everyone who visited the castle had to make reservations and be in a tour party. That way they knew if visiting dignitaries would be around and to avoid killing them. But to avoid leaving a paper trail and risk law enforcement agencies investigating disappearances, no one was charged to visit the castle. All group tours were free, and there would be no credit card transactions showing someone who'd gone missing paid to visit a large castle where blood-drinking, human-resembling aliens lived and worked. Francesco and Valerian had been warned by the human spy they employed in the CIA that a military action from the Mugs and other government agencies was being taken against them. Both leaders knew the time might come once the Quads had been inducted into the Mugs, but Francesco secretly planned for this attack to happen. And he had kept that fact from Valerian, who assumed the Mugs just happened to be coming for them because of the killings, but that wasn't the case. Everyone, I'm going to take a quick break, then I'll continue. Welcome back. New paragraph. Chancellor Francesco and a few others from his faction secretly met with some U.S. officials once he found out about the Quads becoming Mugs. The U.S. people knew of the OU's alien originations, which was classified from the public. They knew the Mugs would be able to use their enormous resources to find the OU a new planetary home. But in order for that to happen, they needed to get the Mugs' attention. Prince Dakota and his soldiers didn't randomly look around for hidden aliens on native planets to find them new homes. They were too busy with battles for that. But if someone important was kidnapped by the OU, then the White House might ask for help from Dakota through the Mug liaison, General Carter. The kidnapping would be staged, and one of the people was a U.S. Senator who was related to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And Dakota would respond with all due speed to rescue anyone kidnapped by blood-drinking aliens. But they also knew Dakota would be sympathetic to their plight of finding a new planet to live on, and probably already knew exactly what was going on and had a plan to help. Francesco was dismayed that Prime Lord Valerian didn't believe the Mugs would have their best interest at heart, and was certain they only wanted to kill all the OU and OZ. Francesco had given up on trying to convince Valerian not to fight the Mugs, and Earth militaries helping who would come at them with everything they had. New paragraph. The kidnapped people were being kept comfortable while they waited for rescue from the Mugs. They had been brought to the castle when Prime Lord Valerian and his people were visiting another part of Earth to meet with OZ sub-leaders. Each faction had local leaders where they lived on Earth, and they reported to Chancellor Francesco or Valerian, whoever they were loyal to. Francesco had managed to keep the prisoners hidden from Valerian and his people and hoped to until the Mugs found them. But Valerian recently found out about the whole deal and was furious such an important politician had been held in the castle. Valerian agreed not to kill the prisoners since it would only ire the U.S. government agents and the Mugs that much more. But he secretly had 3 nuclear bombs built from old tech salvaged from the starships that originally brought the OU to Earth. One bomb was hidden in the castle, and 2 others were smuggled somewhere in the U.S. Valerian would not go down without a fight, and he planned to take as many people to their death as he could with the 3 bombs. He was certain Prince Dakota and his Mugs were going to kill them, and he decided to activate the bombs once Dakota and his people breached the castle walls. But little did Valerian know that the mugs had advanced tech that would allow them to attack from within the castle itself. Francesco had just found out about the bombs and wanted to deactivate them, but Valerian had heavily armed guards posted to protect them. Francesco considered attacking, but didn't want to risk Valerian prematurely detonating them and killing the senator, her family, the MCIS people with them, and those VIPs from other nations, not to mention the citizens of the European country they lived in. Everyone, I'm going to take another quick break, then I'll continue. Welcome back. New paragraph. Leonard, are you okay? A kind female voice asked from nearby. Chancellor Francesco shook his head as if to clear it from his reverie as he glanced up to see a young old teenage girl grinning at him sweetly. New paragraph. Oh yes, Almagina, I'm fine. I'm just concerned for our people, Chancellor Francesco said with a hint of nervousness as he smiled weakly at her. She was a very beautiful girl, and if she were human, she'd be a popular teenager, but she wasn't. Their species grew normally from birth up to 13 years, and then aging slowed way down. She'd been this age for 50 years and would look like a young adult in about 15 more years. And then once an adult, they would age slowly, well past 300 years of age. She was excited to be alive at a time when her people might be able to live on their own planetary home instead of hiding from humans who would kill them out of fear. She knew they were secretly known to high officials and governments, especially the USA, but the public had no idea blood-drinking aliens lived among them. The OU might be stronger than humans, but humans had one thing they didn't: strength in numbers and lots of weapons. There were only 90,000 OU and OZ living on Earth, and humans could easily take them all out if they wanted. Now that the mugs were involved, it was only a matter of time before things got better. She was his second cousin, which is why she could call him by his first name. Unless you were a relative, everyone was instructed to call him by his proper title, except for the OZ leader, who could call him by name and vice versa. New paragraph. It's okay. I have full confidence Prince Dakota and his mugs will get here in time to find the bombs and shut them down, Almagina said as she walked up and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. She was dressed to impress, as were the rest of their people, so they could look their best for such a strong leader of a superpowered army. Once informed by their CIA spy that the mugs would be breaching the castle soon, he instructed everyone to put on their best clothing. He was certain Dakota would already know they needed a new home, and they couldn't wait to see how it was done. There were no rare black stars in the Milky Way galaxy, so it would be interesting where their new planet might be. He was impressed at what she was wearing. Her jet black long hair went halfway down her back, and not one hair was out of place. Her navy blue high heels were shined, and not one wrinkle was present in the dark blue sparkling dress she wore, which went a few inches past her knees. It had been leaked to them that blue was Dakota's favorite color, so Chancellor Francesco suggested everyone wear some kind of blue to reflect that. She wore a 24-karat gold bracelet and necklace, both embedded with shining sapphires and blue diamonds. Dakota would be impressed indeed. Francesco wore a light blue long sport jacket with the same color dress pants, a dark blue necktie, and a navy blue dress shirt. He wore jet black shoes polished to a high shine. Many of their people had taken human names to blend in more, but she had been given a traditional name originally used by their species thousands of years ago when they first arrived on Earth. It wasn't too crazy, and most humans thought nothing of it and usually told her it was a beautiful name anyway. New paragraph. I certainly hope so. Joey told me they had orbiting starships, so I'm certain they already scanned the castle and located the bomb here and the others in the U.S. New paragraph. Me too, and I'm amused that the Prime Lord and his people refused to wear any blue in protest to Prince Dakota and his mugs. He has on a flashy, dark red suit with a candy apple red dress shirt. His people have on clothing in every color but blue, Almagina said as she chuckled briefly. Prime Lord Valerian had no clue Prince Dakota also liked rainbows, and the OZ had on every color of clothing in a rainbow except for blue. The two favorite colors were red and yellow. but there were plenty of oranges, greens, and violets. Even though violet was far from blue, they specifically decided to leave only straight blues out, just to mess with Dakota. Little did they know, he'd only be amused at the protest attempt to agitate them. Chancellor Francisco opened his mouth to speak, but paused when he heard the door to his study open. He and Almagina both turned to see his assistant, Zacharias, briskly walking towards the balcony. Francesco had been seated, but quickly stood with grace when he realized the time had come. Everybody, that's the end of the first part of the fourth chapter. I will continue with the second part of the fourth chapter in the next episode. Thank you and have a good day.